Well, following Big City, Charles Bronson heads the cast of the thriller Murphy's Law. That's at 11:40. Now it's the last in the series of Just a Minute.
Play Just a Minute with the Evening Standard.
And welcome to Just a Minute, the fast and sometimes dangerous exercise in group hysteria that is television's answer to intelligent conversation. I have with me my regular partner in crime, television's usual answer to the question, who on earth can we have on our show tonight? Yes, it is. It's Tony Slattery! And next to Tony, an entertainer from Britain's longest-running improvised comedy show, The House of Commons. He's not exactly the Labour Party's answer to Geoffrey Archer, but if you ask him in private, he'll willingly provide one. It is Tony Banks. On my right, a stand-up comedian, actress, writer, famed for her sharp one-liners. In fact, she's been in the dressing room stropping them on the bit of old leather just half an hour before the show. It's also Red Dwarf's answer to the fact that there are too many men in that show, and in this show probably. It's Hattie Hayridge! We have a ludicrously talented comedian, presenter, who appears regularly on Paul Merton the series and Whose Line Is It Anyway? A founder member of the Comedy Store Players. He's just a minute's answer to the question, who's that bloke sitting next to Hattie Hayridge? It is Neil Mullarkey! Just a Minute are very simple until you try to play the game. I ask each panelist to try and speak on the subject that I give them, and they do that, if they can, without hesitation, without deviating from the subject, or out repeating anything except the subject. Right. They can... It's very simple. They can...
Welcome to Play School.
Yes. They can challenge whenever they like, and if I uphold the challenge, they gain a point, and if not, then whoever is speaking gains a point. We'll begin the show this week with Tony Slattery. Tony, the subject we've got for you now is Heathrow. Will you tell us something about that in this game, starting now?
Well, it suddenly just occurred to me that in the book Wuthering Heights, if Heathcliff were called Heathrow, it wouldn't be as romantic, because then Cathy would have to be called Stansted.
Yes, Neil, you've challenged.
Hesitation?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
Neil,
I think it was hesitation. So, Neil.
Like it all.
First time on the show, you've got in very rapidly there.
Thanks, Nick.
You get a point for a correct answer. You have 50 seconds to tell us something about Heathrow, starting now.
Heathrow, it is not usually discussed in private circles of which I am a member. Has more...
Hattie.
Is that hesitation?
No, dear Hattie, it wasn't.
Hammy. Can you get marks for Hammy?
Didn't talk like that in the green room.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, wasn't he? He was like
I've never heard him
Puts it on.
I think if he gets any slower, it would be hesitation.
all right.
You're teetering on the edge of hesitation. But it wasn't on that occasion, Hattie. So, Neil, you have a point for an incorrect challenge. You keep the subject. Heathrow, 43 seconds are left, starting now.
Heathrow has two tube stations, one Terminal 4, and the other serves the other places where you can land.
Repetition of other.
Yes, the other.
yes, the other
before,
serve the
yes.
other.
Tony Slattery, you have a point for a correct challenge. 35 seconds. Heathrow, starting now.
I tried to smuggle a Val Doonican video through customs in Heathrow, but they searched my bag. And then the officer said, put it back in the case. I said, do it yourself, fish face. And...
Neil.
Repetition of case?
Yes. I tried to search my case, put it back in the case. Well done, Neil, yes. You have a correct challenge. Well done. Does that mean you're going to go a bit faster now? You're right. Neil, 24 seconds on Heathrow, starting now.
Heathrow is the busiest international airport in the entire world. Busier even than Denver, Colorado.
Yes. Hattie, you
Repetition of
challenge.
busy and hesitation.
No, you can't have both. Which do you want?
Whichever one's right.
Neither's right.
He did hesitate, definitely. Hattie, well listened. You have the subject, which is Heathrow. You have a point, of course. 16 seconds are left, starting now.
I once knew a man who lived near Heathrow Airport. He spoke.
Neil.
Sorry, I was entirely wrong.
Totally wrong, Neil. You're too keen.
Sorry, I'm a little...
You challenge so quickly and speak so slowly. I don't know what's the matter with you. But anyway, no, Hattie gets a point because it was a wrong challenge. So, Hattie, you have another point. You have 13 seconds. Heathrow, starting now.
This male friend used to speak louder every 30 seconds because he got so used to the planes going over while he was at home, and it made conversation very difficult if you weren't that very much...
Neil Mullarkey.
Well, which can I choose? Very, I think, was repeated.
Very and hesitation, but very you gave me with first. Neil, you've cleverly got in with only 2 seconds to go.
Heathrow!
I thought they'd be impressed with that. It doesn't make any difference, right? 2 seconds on Heathrow, Neil, starting...
I mean, I'm sorry, I realise I haven't said anything. I'm probably made of cellophane and you're the speaker. But I thought there was hesitation there, which is why I did that, because he was thinking what I can say for 2 seconds, and clearly he could say nothing, and he hesitated. I think it's a point for me.
Order! Tony.
Sorry, Troy doesn't speak like that.
No, she said, order! Rather
She
like
doesn't. They both sounded exactly the same.
He's got a much higher voice.
Tony, she's much higher. Tony, we won't score anything there, but it's very nice to hear from you. The thing was, you start when I say now, and I hadn't said now. That's why I hadn't begun, you see. Neil, you have 2 seconds left on Heathrow, starting now.
Heathrow is a place I've spent many a...
And whoever is speaking that moment gains an extra point, and it was Neil Mullarkey on this occasion. Right, we move forward. Hattie Hayridge, will you take the next round? The subject is, if I was Prime Minister. There are 60 seconds in which you can tell us something about that, starting now.
If I was Prime Minister, I would hold a national competition, so...
Neil.
I thought it was if you were Prime Minister.
Oh, Neil, you're being picky. The subject is... No, the subject is if I was Prime Minister. Take the subject anyway
So
you
if
wish.
Nicholas Parsons was Prime Minister?
Well, it'd be damn sight better than John Major, wouldn't he? Yeah. Oh, nasty political stuff coming in there.
Right. No, you take the subject anyway which you wish. Hattie, you have a point for being interrupted again. There are 57 seconds if I was Prime Minister, starting now.
If I was Prime Minister, there would be a competition to see if anyone in the whole country understood what inflation was, what the whole idea of anything like that was, and...
I think it was a bit of a hesitation.
Definite hesitation, not surprised.
Can I get one?
No, you were just a bit
repetition
faster on the
myself?
button than myself.
I know. No, well, you'll catch up, no doubt, like your party might one day.
How long does this programme run for?
46 seconds with you, Tony. If I was Prime Minister, starting now.
If I was Prime Minister, I'd turn the House of Lords into a virtual reality death zone with lasers, so the old buffers could just pop...
No, that was hesitation.
That was definite hesitation. You're in there,
already
Tony.
is a death zone,
Right,
anyway.
no. You'll find the law of averages in this show always means that everybody gets a fair show at some time or other. Right, 39 seconds are left for you to tell us. If I was Prime Minister, Tony, what would you do starting now?
If I was Prime Minister, the first thing that I would do would be to abolish homelessness, poverty, and all those other nasty things that actually attack our society. That is the right-on serious bit that I'm going to give you tonight. I would also pass a law that no one could actually beat Chelsea Football Club at Stamford Bridge, which means that we would actually win something rather like...
Neil.
We've had several would actuallys, I think.
Yes, you would actually. You would actually, yes.
Well, you would actually if I was speaking.
Neil, you've got in with 18 seconds on this subject. If I was Prime Minister, starting now.
If I were Prime Minister, what wouldn't I do? I would take Dick Stall.
Yes.
That's just gibberish, isn't it?
Then he would make a very good Prime Minister.
Yes, we've heard a few like him, haven't we? Right, so, Tony, you in there with another point? 13 seconds if I was Prime Minister, starting now.
If I were Prime Minister, I would set up something called a pants advisory service, where people would phone up and say, I'm wearing grey slacks after the fashion of Nicholas Parsons. And then I'd fine them with VAT on 100% of what their clothes meant.
Rubbish.
Tony Slattery was then speaking as the whistle went, gained an extra point for doing so. He's moved into second place behind Neil Mullarkey. Tony Banks, it's your turn to begin, and the subject is Waterloo. Would you tell us... I always have to say now, Tony. I know you haven't played the game before. Waterloo, 60 seconds, starting now.
I had an ancestor who actually died at Waterloo. He wasn't involved in the battle itself. He was camping in a field close by and went down...
Neil, yes?
Hesitation?
No, Neil, you're too sharp for words. Right, 51 seconds. You have another point, Tony Banks. Waterloo, starting now.
And went along to complain about the noise. He was butcher, which seemed a most unfortunate thing to do to one of my ancestors.
Neil.
Didn't you say ancestors before?
Yes, you did mention your ancestors before.
Yes, I was looking at you because I knew I'd done that.
Right, so, Neil, you have the subject. Waterloo, 42 seconds, starting now.
Waterloo is a station from which I used to catch a train. It would stop at Clapham Junction, Wimbledon, Surbiton, Hinchleywood, Claygate, Oxshott Common, Effingham Junction, Horse...
There isn't a station called Oxshott Common. It's Oxshott Common.
Neil, I'm not going to give that one against you, so you have another point. Incorrect challenge. 33 seconds, Waterloo, starting now.
Effingham Junction, Horsley...
Repetition of Effingham Junction, he said it before.
Yes.
We went through that.
Absolutely. Spot
Absolutely.
on, Hat.
I was about to say that he had repeated Effingham Junction and Hattie Hayridge. You have the subject. There are 32... You see, it gets to me. Right, there are 32 seconds on Waterloo with you, Hattie, starting now.
Waterloo is a station near a place called Waterloo, and that is quite a coincidence. I wonder how they thought of it. It is full of trains, but there is one section of it where there's a platform which leads in from the Channel Tunnel where there are no trains, not likely to... Ow!
I'm afraid trains.
Yeah.
Yes, don't get that many
I mean,
usually,
exactly.
do you?
You're back in on Waterloo, 18 seconds starting now.
Well, the Battle of Waterloo was caused by a bloke called Napoleon.
I'm sorry, but that was a repetition. You said Battle of Waterloo.
You said battle before.
You said battle.
The subject's only
Don't
Waterloo.
look at me like that. It's only a game.
That's it. I bet.
It'll be up with the mace next.
Tony, Tony Slattery, correct challenge. Another point to you. Waterloo, 15 seconds starting now.
Waterloo Common is where I first met Neil Mullarkey.
Hesitation there, definitely.
No, but there's no Waterloo Common this
no,
one. No. So, Tony, we'll give it to you on the other one. 12 seconds for you on Waterloo. Tony Banks, starting now.
Waterloo is a station, as we already know. It is also a bridge, all named after that very famous punch-up in a field somewhere in Belgium.
I'm sorry, that's a repetition of field.
You mentioned the field.
I'm not very good at this, am I? That's right.
Very good. Very good.
Don't despair, Tony. It's a tough game. But your ancestor was in that field, and I'm afraid Tony Slattery remembered it.
But that was a lie.
But everything you say is a lie.
But I don't normally get called out, so...
Tony's waiting for the station to be built. Was he in that field?
Right. You have 1 second, Tony, on Waterloo, starting now.
I'm in the mood for dancing.
Tony Slattery was speaking once again when the whistle went. Gained an extra point for doing so, and he's just increased his lead at the end of the round. Now, instead of giving the panellists a subject, I'm going to offer them an object. Soon... That was
It's
just
that sample that I passed a moment ago.
It's a sample of... We've all passed at different times, I think, but anyway, there we are. So there is the object. Hattie, we'd like you to talk about it first. Will you tell us something about this object in this game, starting now?
This is an example of cappuccino when you've tipped away...
Neil.
Hesitation?
Yes, there was hesitation. I'm not surprised. looking at that.
Breathe.
Where is the object? There we are. The object should be right. Neil, correct challenge. Will you tell us something about this object? You have 56 seconds left, starting now.
This interesting vessel contains some French onion soup, prepared earlier by Clement Freud in a fit of pique that I could describe only as a passing trauma known previously to a volcanic tribe in Etruria. A strange...
Where was that?
Etruria, it's near Stoke-on-Trent.
You didn't say Etruria, though. You said
Well, it's a bit nearer Stoke-on-Trent.
No, I gave you the benefit of the doubt last time, Neil. This time I must give it to Tony Slattery. Tony, there's the object. 39 seconds. Talk about it, please, starting now.
This is the latest perfume. It's called Grunge. And you dab it on your pulse points, and then you go down trolling the West End, and...
Right, yes.
Hesitation.
No, there was no hesitation.
No,
No, there wasn't hesitation. Yes.
Repetition of yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Repetition of yeah. You've got that one. Well done, Hattie. Yes. Yeah.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. There's the object. Back with you, Hattie. 22 seconds, starting now.
This is an example of Thames water when it has been filtered at least 17 times. Prior to this, it looks even worse, and nothing like the wonderful specimen we see here in front of us, which is...
Sorry. Totally incorrect. Something happened to my hand. I just don't know what it was. I mean, it just suddenly... I just lost control of it. I just lost control of it. I withdraw the challenge.
But it doesn't... All that happens is that, Hattie, you were interrupted. You get another point for that.
Of course.
And you keep going with 10 seconds on the object, starting now.
It's the wonderful colour example.
Sorry, hesitation.
That was hesitation, I'm afraid, Hattie. Tony Slattery, another point, 7 seconds. There's the object, starting now.
The last time Nicholas had his ears syringed...
You're deviating horribly from this thing here. It's got nothing to do with what's inside your ears. I've seen Nicholas. I happen to know.
Certainly, whatever's in my ears isn't that colour, I can assure you. So, Neil, I agree with the challenge. 5 seconds, Neil Mullarkey. 5 seconds for Neil Mullarkey on the object, starting now.
This is some salad dressing.
Hattie, you've cleverly got in with half a second to go.
Well done, Hattie.
On the object, starting now.
This is a brown piece.
Well done.
So Hattie Hayridge then got the point for speaking as the whistle went. And at the end of that round, Hattie's moved forward. She's now in 3rd place behind Neil Mullarkey. Tony Slattery's in the lead, and Tony Banks is trailing a little. And now I'll give a bonus point to anybody who can tell me what they think that actually is. It is a substance.
Is it one?
It is a wheel substance.
A wheel substance?
A wheel substance that we
Goes
brought up.
round and round.
No, not the container, not the what is in it. You were very close, actually, Hattie. It is some
Thames water.
Yes, it is water and mud gathered from the Thames under Waterloo Bridge. Isn't that interesting?
Half a point each.
It's gone back down to the bowels of the Thames now. Right. So, as you were closest, Hattie, you get a bonus point for that.
Wow.
After that edifying free-for-all, it's time for us to kiss and make up. So we'll take a break here, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes after this.
Play Just a Minute with the Evening Standard. It's challenging.
Time for a quick cup of QT. Typhoon QT. The instant tea break.
I'm Rob Weston from Nationwide. Our advertising agency came up with the idea that Nationwide staff should write their own commercials. And a couple of days ago, I had a phone call to say that my idea had been chosen. I'm about to enter fantasy world, aren't I?
How are you? I've spent a week, 10 days in London with the film crew, and it really is another world.
Good, isn't it? The technical terms fascinating me are wipe, dissolve. I still haven't worked out check the gate. I thought the final cut was fantastic. I can't wait to see it on telly.
It's a wrap, everybody.
Here's my commercial.
One household in 10 building for tomorrow with a savings account from Nationwide. The Building Society. Nationwide.
You can work as hard as no one works as hard as, never work as hard as, woo, as hard as right God. You can work as hard as, try to work as hard as, you can work as hard as, woo, as hard as right God. It ain't possible. You can work as hard as, cannot work as hard as, never work as hard as, woo, as hard as right guard.
You can't work as hard as right guard with double protection.
Play Just a Minute with the Evening Standard. It's erudite.
Welcome back to Just a Minute. We've only got a few minutes left, so let's roll up our sleeves, soil our hands and your minds with our next round. On this round, I'm not going to give a subject to our panelists. I'm going to ask our audience to suggest one. So anybody in the audience got any subjects they'd like? Yes, there's a lady there. What would you like them to speak about?
The London telephone boxes.
Yes, what about them?
Yes.
Yeah, what about them? Any other suggestions? Yes, the girl down there, yes?
The Tory party.
The Tory party, yes. There's not much to say about them. Gentleman in the back there.
London taxi drivers.
Well, Neil, look, we'd like you to start. Which would you like?
I quite like telephone boxes, actually.
You can have it. Yes, you're going to start. You choose. London telephone boxes. There are 60 seconds. Neil Mullarkey, starting now.
London telephone boxes often...
that was hesitation.
That was hesitation, definitely, Tony Banks. So the subject is London telephone boxes, starting now.
What I found amazing is that they took away those red London telephone boxes and replaced them with these nasty glass cubicles, which I always thought were urinals, judging by the smell that one actually got when one walked. And now they are replacing, yet again, those cubicles, which I've said already once before, I understand. And please, can I have the point?
The words right out of my mouth.
Yes, that's right. So, Neil, you challenge first. So you have London telephone boxes back with you. 23 seconds, starting now.
London telephone boxes are a joy to behold. I like to go in there and write poetry. Last week I wrote a stanza. I've written it all.
I said, well, it's the same objection as last time. It was complete rubbish.
14 seconds on you, with you, starting now. Neil, yes.
Hesitation.
Yes. Yes, it's gone off again.
Hesitation.
Hesitation. Neil, London telephone boxes back with you. 13 seconds, starting now.
London telephone boxes are frequented by members of the House of Lords. When they want to cogitate upon matters of state, they go to the London...
Oh, no, yes. Sorry, it is his hand. I don't know what I've been doing with it, but he keeps sort of leaping onto the button, you know?
It was doing the right thing. That was hesitation.
It was
Tony
hesitation.
Banks. Well,
yes.
4 seconds for you to tell us something about London telephone boxes, starting now.
I always thought that London...
Neil.
Always.
Yes, you did say always before. I'm very sorry.
I want to see a reprise here. I want you to go back to those tapes. I swear I didn't. On my life, you can believe me, I'm a politician.
Put it to the audience if you like. Did he say always before? If so... God, they're all Labour voters out there. All right, Tony, you had the benefit of the doubt from the audience.
There must be German referees out there.
3 seconds on the subject, Tony, starting now.
I well remember London telephone boxes when they had those very interesting coins.
speaking as the whistle went, and he gained a point, of course, for doing so, and he's moved into third place. In the lead equal are Tony Slattery and Neil Mullarkey. And, Tony, it's back with you to start. Oh, what a lovely subject for you, the Dagenham Girl Pipers. Will you tell us something about them? Starting now.
I went to see the Dagenham Girl Pipers perform at the Carnegie Hall. Weirdly, the hall... Oh, Dad!
Yes.
Hésitation.
Yes. Don't just say it like that. Just speak normally for a change.
You'll be lucky.
Dagenham Girl Pipers with you, Neil Mullarkey. 54 seconds starting now.
The Dagenham Girl Pipers were worried. They had financial cutbacks. What were they going to do? The leader said to them, girls, I don't know what I'm going to do. We run.
Right.
Going to do.
You did that too much, yes.
That's right, I was in there with him.
Is it your hand again?
It's the hand.
Yes, Slattery, right. 44 seconds. Dagenham Girl Pipers starting now.
The Dagenham Girl Pipers had been on the booze all night. They rampaged through London town, their scimitars and swords and sabres glittering in the moonlight. They were after blood and...
I'm very sorry. I mean, I realise that you were into your flow, as they say, but the Dagenham Girl Pipers didn't go round with scimitars. And that's complete deviation.
No,
it was
they had
bagpipes.
Yes, so that was deviation. Well done. You see, your left hand is better than your right.
Definitely. That's what I keep telling John Smith.
Oh, oh really?
You seem such a normal guy.
We are getting revelations about his party here, aren't we? Right. 32 seconds. The Dagenham Girl Pipers starting now.
I once went out with the Dagenham Girl Piper's mother. I found her a fascinating person because she could do some weird and interesting things with a set of bagpipes, which is something, of course, the Dagenham Girl Pipers were known to be very, very proficient at. Yes, of course, very, very. Yes,
Sorry. 18 seconds.
It was getting very interesting as well at that point.
The Dagenham Girl Pipers are back with you, Tony Slattery. 18 seconds starting now.
Sorry. Hésitation. Hesitation.
Why did you...
I don't know.
What is all this? I mean, it's what we call in show business overacting, actually. Yeah. 17 seconds for you, Neil, on the Dagenham Girl Pipers, starting now.
The Dagenham Girl Pipers were playing football against Everton.
Yes.
That's a hesitation.
That was a hesitation, yes. 12 seconds more for the Dagenham Girl Pipers, Tony Slattery, starting now.
The fingering techniques of the Dagenham Girl Pipers were taught by one Tony Banks. It's called the left-hand method. John Smith uses it as well. It gets so out of hand, and then when they play...
Who's challenged? Yes, you have, Neil.
Hand?
Twice?
Yes, two hands, right.
Yes.
There's half a... Neil Mullarkey,
Best to use both hands.
You've got in with half a second to go.
I'll try it again.
On the Dagenham Girl Pipers, starting now.
The Dagenham.
Tony Mullarkey was then speaking as the whistle went and getting an extra point for doing so. I'm afraid we've run out of time, so I'll give you the final score. Well, Hattie Hayridge, who hasn't played the game before, did very well. She finished in 4th place. but it was a very good 4th place. And Tony Banks, who again hasn't played the game before, did a little bit better. She was in 3rd place. And Neil Mullarkey, who's never played the game before, he finished in the lead alongside the man who has played the game before. And they are our joint winners, Tony Slattery and Neil Mullarkey. Some of us here have not told our parents where we are tonight, so we'd better be off before we get into trouble. So it only remains for me to say, from my guests, Tony Slattery, Tony Banks, Hattie Hayridge, Neil Mullarkey, and myself, Nicholas Parsons, until the next time they release us into the television community, good night from us all. Good night.
Well, that was the last in this series of Just a Minute. And next Thursday at 10:40, we can see the Golden Arrows, the British Television Advertising Awards.
Play Just a Minute with the Evening Standard.